In the meanwhile, it's not cut. I don't know why it's not cut for me. But basically, and on top of that, so yesterday they halted Evergrande trading and they put the founder under police control. So that's like a lot of, so that might, it was liquidation, judiciary liquidation, the term I was searching. So huge implication if default. On top of that, they were supposed to do some debt restructuring, but because of regulations, they can't issue new bond and therefore they can't restructure their debt. So that's really bad news for any one of the person who lended them money. So that's actually almost every bank in the world. On top of the March bank crisis, that's like a lot of negative factor for banking. Okay, so it seems like the stream restarted. I hope that I haven't lost any of you yet. I was supposed to record it. Oh, it's okay. I'll record it plus tard. And then the last news I've checked was about WTI. Where is it? It's there. About WTI because it yesterday, I think it's on Tuesday, it reached the highest, the lowest, the yearly 1 year low, exactly, the 1 year low. So that's like a big problem for, no, that's not a big problem, but that's also quite important information because it basically gives us some, that wasn't gold the problem. It was, I was thinking, the one I've noted, but it's also true, it reached a 1 year low on gold, but it wasn't that important. The one that really was important was about WTI. First, if you see, you can see that WTI and Brent are very close at the moment. WTI and Brent are like Brent is at 92.6, while Brent is at 93.6. Generally, it's more like a $4-5 spread between the two. Now it's only one, so that's quite an important. On top of that, 2 days ago, it reached a 1-year high on WTI. So there's several information that comes from that. So that's problematic for both consumers and businesses, because both consumers and businesses can't afford energy cost. And on top of that, it means that the energy is going to have a high cost. So on top, always bad for business, consumer, and basically everyone except energy company. And on top of that, it's going to be a problem with the Fed monetary policy, which wants to reduce inflation. So that makes like a lot of negative factors that we need to be worried about. So now let's go around and look at the 5 asset class. Now the economic calendar first, but we already talked about it, but let's double check. So first, the GDP that was at 230, we can see that it's as forecasted, and there's a slight growth quarter on quarter for Q2 compared to the growth have increased compared to last time. And on top of that, if we manufacture the pricing, we then see that it went down. So that's quite a bad news. And on top of that, there's less jobless claim, initial jobless claim, which is basically a good news for the American people, but it's for the Fed monetary policy. Tricky to slow down the inflation because, if the economy is still running full steam, then the inflation is going to have trouble going down. So that basically covers like the news for the day. We need to be also worried at 10:30. There's the worry of the fact that at 10:30 there's the Fed balance sheet half an hour after Powell speaks. Therefore, it's gonna give us like some information about like the quantitative easing policy of the Fed quantitative easing policy. So we are like good for that. So now let's go around and look at the asset class, the 5 asset class. So we've got, as always, I like to start on stocks. So we can see that Asia was in the red when it was closed in the red and big time. We can see that actually France is actually rising today, probably because of Total, but and France and the Euro stock is rising, but otherwise we've got red across the board. And if we looked, well, it's too late now, but when Finviz, yeah, okay, thanks. On the map, basically the energy sector is the only one that has been green across the board. And if I refresh now, it should basically show me more or less the same. Ah, no, we can see it's red everywhere. Accenture is in big trouble and Micron Technology. But otherwise, it's like, yeah, it's dispersed. So that covers quickly the equities. If we continue with the bond, with the bond asset class, we can see that yields fell waiting for before Powell's speech, but at least the US one. We're gonna see if it was when I prepared this. It was it was like that, but it's they've turned around in the meantime, and basically European bond yield were rising this morning as well. Mostly the main reason we can think of is because of the more hawkish speech by the Fed, which tend to dictate how the other central bank are gonna like work, continue with their monetary policy. Then, if we look at the steers and short-term interest rate as well as short-term interest rate yields, we can see that basically, except in the US, because they don't want to do anything like the other, but basically there was basically a rise in short-term yield, which displayed an increase in short-term risk. It's nothing really new so far. Mostly yields have been going up lately, and therefore it's not really nothing new really. If we look at the forex market and at the currency market, we can see that it changed compared to this morning, but basically, everything is inverted compared to this morning. This morning, the dollar rise compared to the euro and the GPY, and now we can see that basically the dollar fell compared to the euro and the GPY. So basically the euro is a kind of a comeback, and the British pound is going way up. It's on a rise as well. So that's it. But basically, when we look at currencies, that's more or less all we say. We're not like a forex trader, and it tends not to work as well as us as a future and on index future for retail trader. Then if we look at the commodities, we can see that the WTI as well as the Brent are down, but if you look at the global at the big picture, where is it? It's platinum, copper. That it's basically on an upward trend from a very long time, and that basically we are pretty much like it's gonna most likely continue to go up for a certain time. So that would be like a big problem in order to reduce the inflation. And that should worry, like I believe that's something that's going to worry everyone in every central banker. So then if we want to talk a bit about our technical analysis,